The transport shuttle touched down on Galactic Station Meridian 7 with a gentle hiss. Hyunwoo stepped off the ramp and stopped to stare. He had seen pictures, of course, but nothing prepared him for the real thing. The station stretched out before him like a small city floating in space. Beings of every shape and size moved through the wide corridors. Some walked on two legs like him. Others floated. A few skittered on multiple limbs across the walls. Hyunwoo adjusted his uniform and picked up his bag. His first real assignment as a diplomatic liaison officer. His mother had cried when he left Earth. His father had simply smiled and told him to make humanity proud. Now standing in this alien place, Hyunwoo felt very small and very young. A woman in a crisp military uniform approached him. She had the confident walk of someone who had been in space for years. Her name tag read Captain Ji-won Park. "Corporal Kim?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am." Hyunwoo saluted. Ji-won returned the salute, then her face relaxed into a small smile. "Welcome to Meridian 7, I'm your commanding officer. Come on, I'll show you around and brief you on station protocols." They walked through the main concourse. Ji-won pointed out various sections as they went. The marketplace buzzed with activity. Strange smells filled the air, some pleasant, some not. Hyunwoo watched a merchant with forearms juggling what looked like glowing fruit, while haggling with a customer whose head was entirely made of shifting crystals. "You'll get used to it," Ji-won said, noticing his wide-eyed expression. "Give it a week and this will all seem normal." They entered a quieter section of the station where the human diplomatic quarters were located. Ji-won led him to a small office and gestured for him to sit. She pulled up a holographic display showing various alien species. "Part of your job is understanding who you're dealing with," Ji-won began. "Most species here are friendly. Some are reserved. A few are tricky to negotiate with but manageable." She cycled through images as she spoke. The Keldon are formal and love paperwork. The Yithra communicate through color changes, so learn the basic patterns. The Moth people are nocturnal, so don't be surprised if they seem drowsy during station day cycles. Hyunwoo took notes on his tablet, trying to memorize everything. Ji-won paused on one image. Her expression changed, becoming serious. The hologram showed a tall reptilian creature with scales that seemed to shimmer between dark green and black. Its eyes were large and golden, and its hands ended in sharp claws. "This is a Vraken," Ji-won said quietly. "They look interesting," Hyunwoo commented. "They're dangerous." Ji-won's voice was flat. "Very dangerous." Hyunwoo looked up from his tablet. "Dangerous how?" Ji-won leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms. "The Vraken are one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Their history goes back thousands of years, and for most of that history they were apex predators." She paused. "They hunted sentient beings, Hyunwoo. Intelligent creatures like you and me. They ate them." The office suddenly felt colder. Hyunwoo stared at the image of the Vraken. "There are stories," Ji-won continued, "of entire colonies disappearing, of ships found drifting with no crew, only claw marks on the walls. The Vraken claim those days are long past, that they've evolved beyond such behavior. But most species in the galaxy don't trust them. Several worlds have complete trade embargoes against Vraken space. Are they here? On this station?" Hyunwoo asked. "Yes, there's a small delegation. 2 of them. An elder named Voss and his assistant." Ji-won met his eyes. "Stay away from them, Hyunwoo. That's not a suggestion. That's an order. Don't interact with them unless absolutely necessary for diplomatic protocol. And even then, keep it brief and formal. Understood?" "Understood, ma'am." But even as he said it, Hyunwoo felt a strange curiosity. He had always been the type to question stories, to wonder about the truth behind rumors. His grandfather used to say that fear often grew larger than the thing being feared. The briefing continued for another hour. Ji-won covered security protocols, emergency procedures, and the daily routine. Finally, she dismissed him to settle into his quarters. Hyunwoo's room was small but comfortable. A bed, a desk, a small bathroom, and a window that looked out into space. He unpacked his belongings slowly, hanging up his spare uniforms and placing a photo of his family on the desk. He was tired from the journey, but too excited to sleep. Instead, he decided to explore the station a bit. He had 3 days before his official duties began. Might as well learn the layout. The recreational area was on the lower level of the station. It was a large open space with seating areas, viewing screens, and what looked like a garden section with plants from various worlds. A few dozen beings were scattered around, some talking in groups, others alone with reading devices or personal screens. Hyunwoo got himself a drink from a dispenser, something that tasted like a mix between apple juice and mint tea. He found a seat near the garden and watched the people around him. That was when he noticed the lone figure in the corner. It was a Vraken, smaller than the one in the hologram Jiwon had shown him, with scales that were lighter, almost a silver green. The Vraken sat alone at a table, hunched over something. Around the being, there was a noticeable empty space. Other aliens gave the table a wide berth, crossing to the other side of the room rather than walk too close. Hyunwoo watched as a group of young Keldan walked past. One of them glanced at the Vraken and deliberately turned away, whispering to its companions. They all laughed and hurried off. The Vraken's shoulders seemed to slump a little lower. Curiosity got the better of Hyunwoo. He stood up, moving closer but staying casual, pretending to look at the garden plants. From his new position, he could see what the Vraken was looking at. Books. Children's picture books from the looks of it. The pages showed images of earth animals. Dogs, cats, rabbits. The Vraken turned a page slowly, staring at a picture of a golden retriever puppy. The Vraken's golden eyes seemed sad. Hyunwoo felt something shift in his chest. This didn't look like a dangerous predator. This looked like someone who was very, very lonely. He remembered Jiwon's warning. Stay away, don't interact, but he also remembered his grandfather's words. Fear grows larger than the truth. Hyunwoo stood there for a long moment, the drink cooling in his hands, watching the lonely alien reading about puppies and kittens, surrounded by empty chairs and suspicious stares. He made a decision then. Though he didn't act on it yet, tomorrow, he thought, tomorrow he would find out the truth for himself. Hyunwoo couldn't stop thinking about the lonely Vraken in the corner. He spent his first night on the station lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he was being foolish or brave. His training told him to follow orders. His gut told him something different. The next morning, he completed his orientation tasks quickly. Jiwon had him fill out paperwork and attend a safety briefing with other new arrivals. The whole time, his mind was elsewhere. By afternoon, he found himself walking toward the recreational area again. He told himself he was just exploring, learning the station layout. But he knew the truth. He wanted to see if the Vraken would be there. The recreational area was quieter during station afternoon cycles. Most beings were working or resting. Hyunwoo entered and immediately spotted the familiar figure in the same corner as yesterday. The Vraken sat alone, this time with a tablet device, tapping at it with careful movements of those clawed fingers. Hyunwoo got himself another drink and sat down at a table not too far away, but not too close either. He pulled out his own tablet and pretended to read. Really, he was watching. The Vraken seemed to be struggling with the device. Its clawed finger would tap, then the screen would flash red. The Vraken would make a small sound, almost like a sigh, and try again. More red flashes. The being's scales seemed to dim slightly, a change in color that Hyunwoo found fascinating. After about 20 minutes of watching this cycle, Hyunwoo made his decision. He stood up, picked up his drink, and walked over. His heart was beating fast. Part of him screamed that this was stupid, but a larger part wanted to know. "Excuse me," Hyunwoo said softly. "Do you need help with that?" The Vraken's head snapped up. Those large golden eyes went wide with shock. For a moment, neither of them moved. The Vraken stared at him like Hyunwoo had just appeared out of thin air. You're speaking to me." The Vraken's voice was soft, with an odd musical quality to it. The translator built into the station made the words clear, but Hyunwoo could hear the original sounds underneath, like wind through crystals. "Yes. I noticed you were having trouble with your device. I'm pretty good with tech."
"Maybe I can help."
The Vraken continued to stare. Then its gaze darted around the room, as if checking to see if this was some kind of joke. The recreational area had a few other beings, all deliberately not looking their way. "Why?" the Vraken asked simply. "Why what? Why would you help me?" "No one." The Vraken trailed off, looking down at the table. "No one speaks to me here." Hyunwoo felt a pang in his chest. He gestured to the empty chair across from the Vraken. "May I sit?" The Vraken nodded slowly, still looking confused. Hyunwoo sat down and set his drink on the table. Up close, he could see more details. The Vraken's scales weren't just one color, but many shades of green and silver that shifted in the light. There were patterns on them, almost like fingerprints, unique and complex. The eyes were remarkable with vertical pupils that adjusted to the light. "I'm Hyunwoo," he said, offering his hand before remembering that might not be appropriate. He started to pull it back. The Vraken looked at his hand, then carefully reached out. Its hand was cooler than Hyunwoo's, with smooth scales and those claws that weren't nearly as sharp looking up close. They shook hands gently. "I am Talus," the Vraken said, junior cultural attaché to the Vraken delegation. "Nice to meet you, Talus. Now what's wrong with your tablet?" Talus turned the device so Hyunwoo could see. "I'm trying to access the human database section on Earth fauna, but the translation protocol keeps rejecting my credentials. I don't understand why." Hyunwoo looked at the screen. "Oh, I see the problem. You're trying to access it through the general port. Human databases require a different pathway because of how we organize information. Here, let me show you." He walked Talus through the proper steps. Within minutes, the tablet displayed the database. Talus's scales suddenly brightened, becoming more vivid. The golden eyes seemed to glow with excitement. "It works. Thank you so much." Talus scrolled through the images eagerly. Pictures of animals filled the screen. Dogs, cats, horses, birds. "I've been trying to access this for 3 days." "Why are you interested in Earth animals?" Hyunwoo asked. Talus hesitated, then seemed to decide Hyunwoo was trustworthy. "My world has animals, of course, but not like yours. Nothing that forms bonds with other sentient species. The concept of pets is fascinating to me. Companion animals that live with you, that you care for, that care for you in return." Talus looked at a picture of a cat curled up in someone's lap. "We have nothing like this." "Pets are pretty great," Hyunwoo agreed. "I had a dog growing up, a little terrier named Butter. She used to sleep at the foot of my bed every night." "Butter," Talus repeated as if tasting the word. "What happened to her?" "She passed away 2 years ago, old age. I still miss her sometimes. I'm sorry for your loss." Talus's voice was genuinely sad. "She must have been very special to you." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Hyunwoo decided to ask the question that had been bothering him. "Talus, why does everyone avoid you?" The scales dimmed again. Talus's claws tapped nervously on the tablet. "You don't know?" "I know some things, but I want to hear it from you." Talus took a deep breath, an oddly human gesture. "My people have a dark history. Thousands of years ago, before we became civilized, we were hunters. We hunted everything, including sentient beings. We ate them." The words came out flat, as if Talus had said them many times before. "When we finally evolved enough to understand what we had done, we were horrified. We changed everything about our society. We became vegetarians as penance. We dedicated ourselves to peace and learning. But the other species don't believe that? Would you?" Talus looked at him with those sad golden eyes. "If someone told you their ancestors ate people, but don't worry, they don't do that anymore, would you trust them around your family? Your friends?" Hyunwoo thought about it honestly. "I don't know. Maybe not at first. But I'd want to judge them as individuals, not as their history." "You're unusual then. Most beings in the galaxy judge us by our past. We've been trying for generations to prove we've changed. But fear is hard to overcome." Talus's voice got quieter. "I was sent here as part of a cultural exchange program. My people hoped that if I could make connections, show that we're not monsters, it might help. But I've been here for 4 months, Hyunwoo. You're the first person to voluntarily speak to me. 4 months. Alone." Hyunwoo couldn't imagine it. "Well, I'm speaking to you now," Hyunwoo said firmly. "And if you want, I can tell you more about Earth animals. I have videos on my tablet. Real footage, not just pictures." Talus's scales brightened again, that same vivid intensity. "Really? You would share that with me?" "Sure, I come here most afternoons. We could make it a regular thing." "I would like that very much." A shadow fell across their table. Both of them looked up to see a tall Vraken standing there. This one was older, with darker scales and scars across their face. The eyes were sharp and suspicious. "Talus," the older Vraken said in a deep voice. "Who is this?" "Elder Voss." Talus stood quickly, respectfully. "This is Hyunwoo. He helped me with my tablet, and we were just talking about Earth animals." Elder Voss studied Hyunwoo with an intensity that made his spine straighten. "A human. Speaking to you voluntarily." "Yes, Elder." Voss continued to stare at Hyunwoo. "What do you want from him?" The question was direct, almost aggressive. But Hyunwoo understood it. This was protectiveness, not hostility. "Nothing, sir. Just conversation. Talus seems interested in Earth fauna, and I'm happy to share information." Humans fear us, Voss said bluntly. All species fear us. Why don't you? Hyunwoo thought about his answer carefully. I was warned about the Vraken, he admitted. But I was also taught to judge people by their actions, not by stories. Talus hasn't done anything to make me afraid, so I'm not. Voss's expression was unreadable. Then slowly his posture relaxed just slightly. Be careful, young human. Kindness to Talus may bring you trouble from others. I'll take that risk. Voss looked at Talus, then back at Hyunwoo. Finally he nodded. Very well. Talus, don't stay too long. We have reports to file. Yes, Elder. Voss walked away, leaving them alone again. Talus sat back down. Scales still bright, but with an added pattern Hyunwoo hadn't seen before, almost like ripples across water. Is he angry? Hyunwoo asked. No, surprised, I think, and maybe hopeful. Talus smiled, an expression that showed small, neat teeth. Thank you, Hyunwoo, for treating me like a person. You are a person, Talus. Anyone with eyes can see that. As Hyunwoo walked back to his quarters that evening, he realized he had just made his first real friend in space, and he hadn't been afraid at all. Over the next 2 weeks, Hyunwoo and Talus met in the recreational area nearly every afternoon. What started as simple conversation grew into genuine friendship. Hyunwoo would bring videos and pictures from Earth, and Talus would watch them with the enthusiasm of a child discovering something magical. This one is called a golden retriever, Hyunwoo explained, showing a video of a large dog playing with children in a park. They're known for being friendly and gentle. Talus watched the screen with complete focus. The young humans are so small, the dog could easily hurt them. But it doesn't. That's what makes dogs special. They're loyal. They protect the people they love. Love. Talus repeated the word softly. You use that word often when talking about your companion animals. Because it's true. People love their pets and pets love their people back. It's a bond. Talus's scales shifted through several colors, settling on a warm bronze tone. I think I understand. It's like the bond between parent and child in my culture, but chosen instead of born. Exactly. Their meetings didn't go unnoticed. Other beings on the station began to talk. Hyunwoo would hear whispers when he walked past groups in the corridors. He caught stares in the cafeteria. Most of the attention was just curiosity, but some of it felt hostile. His friend Da-eun noticed first. She was another human crew member, an ensign who worked in communications. She cornered him one morning in the mess hall. Hyunwoo, people are talking about you, she said, sliding into the seat across from him. Let them talk. You're spending time with the Vraken, the scary one that everyone avoids. His name is Talus, and he's not scary. He's kind and curious and lonely. Da-eun studied his face. You really believe that? I know it. I've spent hours with him, Da-eun. He's my friend. She was quiet for a moment, stirring her coffee. Captain Ji-won is asking questions. She wants to know where you disappear to every afternoon. I haven't broken any rules. I'm not neglecting my duties. No, but you're not following her orders either. She told you to stay away from the Vraken. Hyunwoo set down his fork. She told me they were dangerous. But they're not. Or at least Talus isn't. How am I supposed to just ignore someone who needs a friend? Da-eun smiled slightly. You always were too kind for your own good. Fine. If Captain Ji-won asks, I'll cover for you. Say you've been helping me with translation protocols or something. But be careful, okay? Thanks, Da-eun. That afternoon, Hyunwoo brought something special to show Talus. A video of his old dog, Butter. The footage was shaky, taken on his phone when he was younger. It showed a small brown and white terrier running around his family's backyard chasing a ball. That's her, Hyunwoo said, feeling a familiar ache in his chest. That's my Butter. Talus watched the video 3 times. She looks happy. She was, right up until the end. Hyunwoo paused the video on a frame where Butter was looking at the camera, tongue out, looking like she was smiling. The hardest part about having pets is that they don't live as long as we do. But the time we have with them is worth it. Do humans do anything special when a companion animal dies? Some people bury them. Some keep their ashes. My family planted a tree in our garden for Butter, a cherry tree. Every spring when it blooms, we remember her. Talus was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Your species has created something beautiful, a bond with another creature based only on affection and choice. My people don't have that. We lost it when we lost our way thousands of years ago. Maybe your people could have it again. Start new traditions, perhaps. Talus's scales dimmed slightly, but first we would need to convince the galaxy we're not monsters. Hyunwoo looked at his friend, at the sadness in those golden eyes, and made an impulsive decision. Come here. What? Just lean forward a little. Talus looked confused but did as asked. Hyunwoo reached out slowly, making sure Talus could see his hand coming, and gently patted the top of Talus's head. His palm touched smooth scales, cool and surprisingly soft. He patted twice, the same way he used to pat Butter when she did something good. Talus froze. Absolutely still. His eyes went wide. Hyunwoo pulled his hand back quickly. I'm sorry. Is that wrong? In human culture, that's called a head pat. It's what we do with pets and sometimes with friends to show affection. I should have asked first, but Talus wasn't upset. His scales were changing, brightening to colors Hyunwoo had never seen before. Brilliant golds and silvers with patterns that seemed to glow from within. Talus's whole body seemed to shimmer. Talus, are you okay? No one has touched me since I arrived on this station, Talus said, his voice thick with emotion. No one, and you treated me like one of your companion animals, with affection. A sound came from Talus's throat, almost like a laugh mixed with a sob. Among my people, touching the head is sacred. Parents do it with young children. It's a sign of trust and care. We stopped doing it generations ago because of our shame. I didn't know. I'm sorry if I overstepped. No. Talus looked at him with shining eyes. No, don't be sorry. That was the kindest thing anyone has done for me in a very long time. Around them, the recreational area had gone quiet. Other beings were staring openly now. A human had just touched a Vrakan, voluntarily, affectionately, and the Vrakan hadn't attacked, hadn't even gotten angry. The whispers started immediately. An older Keldon at a nearby table stood up and hurried out, throwing suspicious looks over his shoulder. A group of Yithra in the corner changed colors rapidly, their version of excited conversation. Even the station's automated cleaning bot seemed to pause in its work, as if processing what it had witnessed. Talus noticed the attention, and his scales dimmed again. I've caused you trouble. You haven't caused anything. They can stare all they want. Hyunwoo smiled. Besides, you're my friend. Friends look out for each other. Friend. Talus repeated the word like a prayer. Yes, you are my friend, Hyunwoo. The next day, Hyunwoo was called to Captain Jiwon's office. He walked in knowing this was coming. Dayun had warned him that morning that Jiwon had heard about the incident in the recreational area. Jiwon was standing by her window, looking out at the stars. She didn't turn around when he entered. Corporal Kim, did you or did you not touch the Vrakan delegate yesterday? I did, ma'am. After I specifically ordered you to avoid contact with them? Yes, ma'am. Now Jiwon turned. Her expression was hard to read. Why? Because he's my friend, Captain. And friends show affection. He's a Vrakan, Hyunwoo. His species has a history of violence against sentients. His species. Not him. Talus has never hurt anyone. He's gentle and kind. He's been alone on this station for months with no one to talk to. How is that fair? Fair? Jiwon's voice rose slightly. Life isn't fair, Corporal. And in this job, you don't get to make decisions based on feelings. You follow protocols. You maintain appropriate distance. You represent humanity. Then let me represent the best parts of humanity, the parts that show compassion and give second chances. Jiwon was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed and rubbed her temples. You're making my job very difficult. I'm sorry, ma'am. But I'm not sorry about being friends with Talus. People are talking. Important people. Ambassadors and counselors. They're saying you're naive, that you're being manipulated by a predator species. Then they're wrong. Jiwon looked at him with something that might have been respect mixed with frustration. I can't protect you if this becomes a bigger issue. I understand. Do you? Because I'm not sure you realize what you've started here. That head pad of yours is spreading across the station network. By tomorrow, the whole quadrant will know about it. Hyunwoo straightened his shoulders. Good. Maybe it's time people learned that the Vrakan aren't what they think. Or maybe you'll learn the hard way that some fears exist for good reasons. Jiwon waved her hand. Dismissed. And Hyunwoo, be careful. You're playing with fire. As Hyunwoo left the office, he didn't feel worried. He felt determined. Talus deserved a friend. Deserved kindness. And if showing that kindness made waves, then so be it. He had given his friend a head pat. And he would do it again. The seed of change had been planted. Now it just needed time to grow. The video appeared on the station network 3 days later. Someone had recorded Hyunwoo's head pat and posted it with the caption, "Human shows affection to dangerous predator species. How long until he's eaten?" The reaction was immediate and explosive. By the time Hyunwoo saw the video, it had been shared thousands of times across dozens of systems. The comments section was a battlefield. Some beings praised him for showing kindness. Others called him foolish. Many demanded that the Frakken be removed from the station immediately. Hyunwoo tried to go about his normal duties, but everywhere he went, people stared. Some with curiosity, others with clear disapproval. The friendly Ythera merchant who usually greeted him in the marketplace turned away. The Keldan scientist he sometimes ate lunch with found reasons to sit at different tables. Da-Yun remained loyal, sitting with him in the mess hall despite the whispers around them. "This is getting bad," she said quietly. "I heard Councillor Thresh is filing a formal complaint." "Who's Councillor Thresh?" "Keldan politician. Very influential. Very anti-Frakken. He's been lobbying for years to have them banned from all galactic stations." Hyunwoo pushed his food around his plate. "All because I showed my friend some affection." "You touched a Vrakken, Hyunwoo. To most beings in the galaxy, that's like casually petting a shark with your bare hands. They don't understand that you're not afraid. Maybe they should ask why I'm not afraid instead of assuming I'm stupid." That afternoon, Hyunwoo went to the recreational area, as usual. Talus was there, but something was different. The young Vrakken sat hunched over, scales a dull gray color that Hyunwoo had learned meant distress. "Talus?" Talus looked up. His golden eyes were dim. "You've seen the video." "Yeah, I've seen it. I'm sorry. This is my fault. I should never have accepted your friendship. Now you're in trouble because of me." Hyunwoo sat down firmly. "Stop that. You didn't do anything wrong. Neither did I. If people want to be upset, that's their problem. It's not that simple." Talus's voice was barely above a whisper. "Councillor Thresh released a statement today. He's calling for an investigation into human-Vrakken relations. He says you might be compromised, that I might have manipulated you somehow." "That's ridiculous, is it? My people are known for being predators. It's easy for others to believe the worst about us." Talus's claws scraped against the table nervously. "Elder Voss is furious. Not at you. At the situation. He says this is exactly why we should never have tried to integrate with galactic society." Before Hyunwoo could respond, the large screen on the recreational area wall flickered to life. It showed a news broadcast from the station's main channel. A serious-looking Keldan reporter sat at a desk, and behind him was Hyunwoo's face next to Talus's. "The controversial interaction between a human diplomatic officer and a Vrakken delegate continues to cause heated debate," the reporter said. "Councillor Thresh has released historical footage to remind viewers of the Vrakken threat." The screen changed. Old footage appeared, grainy and dark. It showed Vrakken from centuries ago, wild and savage, attacking what looked like a settlement. The violence was brutal. Hyunwoo felt sick watching it. "This is what the Vrakken were," the reporter continued. "And many ask, can such a species truly change? Or is Corporal Kim simply the next victim in a long line of Vrakken deception?" The screen showed more clips, all carefully edited to make the Vrakken look as monstrous as possible. Ancient battles, old propaganda posters, fear-mongering speeches from various political leaders. Talus made a sound like a wounded animal and stood up abruptly. "I can't watch this." "Talus, wait." But Talus was already leaving, moving quickly toward the exit. Hyunwoo followed, ignoring the stares from everyone in the room. He caught up to Talus in an empty corridor. The Vrakken was leaning against the wall, scales flickering between gray and black. "That footage was from before my great-great-grandparents were born," Talus said. "But that's all anyone sees when they look at me. A monster from the past, I don't see that. You should. Maybe everyone else is right. Maybe I am dangerous and just don't know it yet." Talus's voice cracked. "What if the violence is still inside me waiting?" "That's not true. How do you know?" "How can anyone know?" Hyunwoo grabbed Talus's shoulders gently. "Because I know you. I've spent hours with you, Talus. I've seen how you react to violence in videos, how you turn away and get upset. I've seen how careful you are with everything. How you're always aware of your claws and your strength. You're not your ancestors, but I carry their guilt. No, you carry their history. But you get to choose your own path. That's what being sentient means. Choice. Talus looked at him with those sad golden eyes. You really believe that? I know it. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Captain Jiwan appeared, her face grave. Hyunwoo, we need to talk now. In Jiwan's office, Hyunwoo found he wasn't alone. Elder Voss was there too, standing tall and imposing near the window. Ambassador Yeol, the senior human diplomat, sat in one of the chairs. This was serious. Corporal Kim, Ambassador Yeol began, I've received a formal complaint from Counselor Thresh. He's demanding your immediate reassignment away from this station and the complete removal of the Fraken delegation. On what grounds? On the grounds that you're displaying inappropriate familiarity with a potentially dangerous species and that your judgment has been compromised. My judgment is fine. I'm fully aware of what I'm doing, Elder Voss spoke then, his deep voice filling the room. This is exactly what I warned against. Kindness to us brings only trouble. We should leave before this situation damages human-Vraken relations further. No, Hyunwoo said firmly. That's exactly what they want. For you to leave, to stay isolated, to never have a chance to show who you really are. And who are we really? Voss asked bitterly. To the galaxy, we will always be monsters. Perhaps they're right to fear us. You don't believe that. I believe that protecting my people means accepting reality, and the reality is that we're not welcome here. Jiwan spoke up. There's another problem. Station security has reported increasing tension. Several species are threatening to leave if the Vraken remain. Some merchants are refusing to do business near your delegation's quarters. This afternoon, someone spray-painted slurs on your door. Voss's scales darkened. I see. I'm sorry, Jiwan said, and she sounded like she meant it. I wish things were different. When do we leave? Voss asked quietly. The council is meeting tomorrow to make a final decision, but realistically, I'd start preparing for departure. Hyunwoo felt panic rising in his chest. You can't just give up. We're not giving up, Voss said. We're accepting the inevitable. We tried. We failed. Again. No. There has to be another way. Ambassador Yeol looked at him with sympathy. Sometimes, Hyunwoo, the best we can do is minimize the damage. If the Vraken leave peacefully, it saves face for everyone. It's not about saving face. It's about doing what's right. The right thing isn't always the possible thing. After the meeting ended, Hyunwoo wandered the station in a daze. He couldn't let this happen. Couldn't let Talus leave believing that friendship wasn't worth fighting for. He found Talus in the delegation's quarters, packing belongings into cases. The room was sparse, barely lived in. 4 months on this station and Talus hadn't accumulated much. Because he hadn't expected to stay. Hadn't expected to be welcome. I'm sorry, Talus said without looking up. I know you tried. I'm not done trying. It's over, Hyunwoo. Elder Voss is right. We should never have come here. Listen to me. Hyunwoo moved to stand in front of Talus. What if we could show them? Really show them who you are? Who the Vraken have become? How? They've already decided who we are. Then we make them see the truth. A public demonstration? Something that can't be misunderstood or twisted. What kind of demonstration? Hyunwoo's mind was racing, forming a plan. Trust me. I have an idea. But I need you to trust me. Talus looked at him for a long moment. Then slowly his scales brightened just slightly. I trust you, my friend. What do you need me to do? First, we need to convince Ambassador Yeol to give us a chance. And then we need to show the entire council why fear is wrong. It was a long shot, maybe impossible. But Hyunwoo had learned something important during his time on this station. Sometimes the bravest thing you could do was reach out your hand, offer kindness, and trust that it would be enough. He had given Talus a head pat and made a friend. Now he needed to show everyone else why that simple act mattered more than ancient history. Tomorrow everything would change, one way or another. The council chamber was full. Every seat taken, every species represented. Hyunwoo had never seen so many different beings in one place. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. He stood in the preparation area behind the main chamber, his dress uniform perfectly pressed, but his hands shaking. Ambassador Yeol had agreed to his request, though she warned him that failure would have serious consequences. Captain Jiwan had given him a long look that morning, one that said both good luck and you're insane. Dayan squeezed his shoulder. You've got this. Just speak from the heart. What if my heart isn't enough? Then at least you tried. That's more than most people would do. Through the doorway, he could see the council members taking their seats. Councillor Thresh sat in a prominent position, his Keldan features arranged in an expression of smug satisfaction. The Vrakan delegation sat apart from everyone else, as always. Elder Voss looked grim. Talus looked terrified. A woman in a human medical uniform approached them. "Corporal Kim, I'm Dr. Bora Lee, xenobiology specialist. Ambassador Yol asked me to provide scientific testimony today." "Thank you for coming." Bora adjusted her glasses. "I've been studying the Vrakan for years. Their biological evolution is remarkable. I'm happy to finally have a chance to present my research to people who might actually listen." The council secretary called for order. Ambassador Yol entered the chamber and Hyunwoo followed with Bora. The eyes of hundreds of beings turned to watch them. Ambassador Yol spoke first, her voice clear and diplomatic. "Honored council members, we are here to address the concerns raised about human-Vrakan relations, specifically regarding Corporal Kim's interactions with Junior Attaché Talus. Before any decisions are made about removing the Vrakan delegation, we ask that you hear evidence and testimony." Councillor Thresh stood immediately. "This is unnecessary. The Vrakan's history speaks for itself. We have all seen the footage of their violent past. Why should we risk the safety of station residents for the sake of political correctness?" "Because history is not destiny," Yol replied calmly. "And fear should not be policy. Dr. Lee, would you present your findings?" Bora activated the holographic display. Images of Vrakan biology appeared in the air above the council floor. Detailed scans of their digestive systems, brain chemistry, genetic markers. "I've spent 7 years studying Vrakan biology," Bora began. "What I've found is remarkable. The Vrakan species underwent rapid biological evolution over the past 3,000 years. Their digestive systems can no longer process meat. They lack the enzymes. Eating another sentient being would literally make them sick. This isn't a choice or cultural preference. It's biological fact." She changed the display to show brain scans. Furthermore, their brain chemistry has evolved to feel intense distress at the sight of violence against sentients. What was once predatory instinct has been replaced with empathy. In my studies, I showed Vrakan subjects images of violence. Every single one showed immediate stress responses, increased heart rates, hormonal changes consistent with trauma. "They could be faking," Thresh interrupted. "Not these responses. These are automatic, biological. You can't fake your liver function or your neural chemistry." Bora looked at the council members. "The Vrakan aren't just choosing to be peaceful. They've evolved to be peaceful. Their bodies won't let them be anything else." Murmurs spread through the chamber, some skeptical, some thoughtful. Yol nodded to Hyunwoo. "Corporal Kim will now speak about his personal experiences." Hyunwoo stepped forward. His mouth was dry. He had prepared a speech, but now all those careful words seemed to fly out of his head. So he just spoke honestly. "My name is Hyunwoo Kim. I'm 23 years old. I grew up on Earth in a small city where everyone knew everyone. My grandfather taught me that fear makes things bigger than they are, and that the best way to fight fear is with truth." He paused. "When I came to this station, I was warned about the Vrakan. I was told they were dangerous, that I should avoid them. But then I saw Talus sitting alone, reading picture books about Earth animals, and I saw someone who was just lonely." He looked directly at Talus, whose scales were a nervous pale green. "I got to know him. We talked about dogs and cats and the concept of pets. He was fascinated by the idea that different species could form bonds based on love and choice. We became friends, real friends, and I never felt unsafe, not once." "Of course you didn't feel unsafe," Thresh said sharply. "You were the predator's target. They're patient hunters. Everyone knows this. I'm not a target. I'm a friend. There's a difference." Hyunwoo's voice grew stronger. "And you know what? I learned something important from Talus. I learned about carrying guilt that isn't yours, about being judged for things your ancestors did thousands of years before you were born. The Vrakan didn't choose their history, but they chose how to respond to it. They chose to change everything about their society. They chose peace." He turned to address the entire council. "My species has done terrible things too. We had wars. We had slavery. We had genocide. We did horrible things to each other and to other species on our planet. If someone judged all of humanity by our worst moments, what would they see? Would they see the people we've become? Or just the monsters we used to be?" The chamber was silent now. Even Thresh seemed to be listening. "I'm not saying ignore history," Hyunwoo continued. I'm saying we should judge people as individuals, as the beings they choose to be, not the beings their ancestors were. And I choose to see Talus as my friend, someone who is kind, curious, and gentle, someone who deserves a chance. Yol spoke again. Corporal Kim, would you demonstrate what you did that caused so much controversy? Hyunwoo's heart pounded. Yes, Ambassador. Junior Attaché Talus, would you come forward? Talus stood slowly. The young Vrakan walked to the center of the chamber, every eye following. His scales were shifting colors rapidly, a sign of intense stress. Hyunwoo walked over to stand next to his friend. It's okay, he said quietly. Just like before. He turned to face the council. Hundreds of beings watching, recording devices capturing every moment. This would be broadcast across the galaxy. If this went wrong, it would confirm every fear about the Vrakan. If it went right, maybe, just maybe, things could change. Hyunwoo reached up slowly, making sure everyone could see his movements. He placed his hand gently on top of Talus's head, and he patted, once, twice, 3 times, the same gesture of affection he'd given before. Talus's scales exploded with color, brilliant golds and silvers and blues that seemed to glow from within. Patterns rippled across his entire body like waves of light. His golden eyes shone with emotion, and he didn't attack, didn't show any aggression. Instead, he made a sound that the translator interpreted as a laugh, mixed with a sob of happiness. This is what humans do with beings they care about, Hyunwoo said, his voice carrying through the silent chamber. It's called a head pat. It means affection, trust, friendship, and Talus's response shows joy, not deception, not predatory patience, just joy at being treated with kindness. Elder Voss stood then, moving to join them. The large Vrakan looked at the council, his expression serious. What the human says is true, Voss said, his deep voice resonating. Head touching is sacred to us. It was how our parents bonded with children long ago. We stopped doing it when we realized what we had been. We abandoned all our old traditions because of shame. But this human who owed us nothing gave us back a piece of what we lost. Not through violence, not through fear, through simple kindness. He placed his own hand on Talus's shoulder. My people have spent 3,000 years trying to prove we've changed. We've submitted to every test, followed every regulation, accepted every restriction, and still we are feared. But maybe we were asking the wrong beings for acceptance. Maybe we should have asked the ones brave enough to see past history. Captain Jiwon stood up in the gallery where the observers sat. If I may speak? Yol nodded. Captain Park. Jiwon looked uncomfortable, but her voice was firm. I ordered Corporal Kim to avoid the Vrakan. I based that order on fear and old stories, not on facts. I was wrong. She took a breath. I've watched the Vrakan delegation for months. They're quiet. They keep to themselves. They've never caused a single incident. But I, like many others, saw what I expected to see instead of what was really there. Corporal Kim did what I should have done. He looked without prejudice and saw the truth. More beings stood. One by one, some spoke in support. A few remained opposed, but the tide was turning. The video of the head pat played on screens throughout the chamber, but now it looked different. Not a human being foolish with a predator, but a bridge being built between 2 beings who chose to trust. Finally, the council took a vote. The Vrakan would stay. Not just stay, but the council established a new program, a formal cultural exchange initiative, the first of its kind. Talus would remain as the coordinator, working with a team that included Hyunwoo as the human liaison. When the vote was announced, Talus's scales went so bright that several beings had to shield their eyes. Elder Voss's shoulders, which had been tight with tension for months, finally relaxed. Councillor Thresh looked angry, but even he couldn't argue with a council majority vote. Later, in the observation deck,